Welcome to Advent of Tessellations 2024. My name is Madonna Yoder, and you're joining hundreds of folders around the world on this 25-day journey into the infinite world of repeating patterns folded from a single sheet of paper. You'll discover many different twists in this challenge, building up to advanced patterns with hybrid hexagon twists. On day 21 of Advent of Tess, we're returning to the hybrid hexagon twist that forms a rectangle. And you'll notice we're bringing them closer in. We have these two pleats that are one spacing apart. This pattern is called Greenhouse. You can find the crease pattern for it and all of the other patterns in these tutorials when you sign up for email reminders at training.gatheringfolds.com/advent, as well as instructions for folding this 24 division grid that we're going to use in today's tutorial. So let's go ahead and get started. We're starting with an open hexagon twist in the center. So I'm going to have my mountain fold come to the right side of the paper, one spacing above the edge, and my valley fold will be one spacing above that. I'm going to pinch both the mountain and the valley fold fully closed, and then pass that off to my left hand as I set up the next plate. Identical plate, mountain one spacing above the corner, valley one spacing above that. And I'm running this in, coming in towards the center, but not passing the center. So I can keep going around, adding these pleats. And they're staying in place. They're not erasing themselves as I add the next ones. Once I have all 6 of these pleats in place, I can settle the pleats down, and now only the very center of the paper, this puffy hexagon star, is raised up, and I can smash from the top to squash this open hexagon twist. This is our side A. And by the way, another way to reference this open hexagon twist is from the center point. Our mountain folds are coming in one spacing above on the right, and valley fold one spacing further. If you're using some other shape of paper, you're going to want to reference from the center point instead of the corners. And then flipping over, we have our side B. On this side B, we're going to put open triangle twists at tube pleat spacing all the way around our central hexagon. So that means that relative to this existing folded mountain, my valley is going to be one space further out. My mountain is going to be one space further than that. And this is an open triangle twist, so we're going to be outlining one grid triangle with our mountain folds instead of having them all come to a single point. And I'm going to erase this existing pleat that goes past my new mountain fold and set up both the mountain and the valley for this new open triangle twist. And press from the top to squash. Since our next twist is going to be on the A side of the paper, I'm going to work around clockwise. So I'm rotating, so I have my next parallel pleat. I'm going to be adding my new triangle on the plate that's forming the bottom of this tube. So I'll have my valley coming out one grid spacing away from the existing folded mountain, my mountain one space further, and then the third mountain fold around this open triangle twist will be on the indicated grid line, which I need to open the existing pleat to see how that grid line specifically continues through, and in this case it goes right under the corner of the previous triangle twist, and we're leaving this pleat from the previous triangle fully folded while this new pleat goes through, creating a pleat overlap. And squash. So by this point in the Advent of Tess series, we've done quite a few of these hexagons surrounded by triangles. This process should be fairly familiar. I'm going to start folding a little bit faster since we have seen these steps exactly already. Folding my tube and then finding the grid line that completes the open triangle, putting in the pleat overlap, and squashing the new triangle twist. Next, new tube, find the new triangle, put in the new pleat overlap, squash, and repeat. So find the new tube, erase the bottom of the old tube to find the third pleat of the triangle, specifically the open triangle, create the new pleat overlap, and squash. Now, our one exception to this repeating rule is when we get around to our sixth triangle. And for this one, we're going to do a compound wrap where we cross the pleat from our first triangle. This, again, is something that we've been doing every single time that we've had triangle twists around a hexagon where the next hexagon is going to be on the opposite side from the triangles. And we're going to have the valley, and here I don't have the extension of the mountain fold of the next pleat over to reference to, but I can see that the corners of all of my triangles are right at the corners of the open hexagon hole. And that means that my valley fold is going to come right to the corner of that open hexagon hole. It's going to go down until it hits this mountain from the first triangle. And then it's going to bounce one grid spacing in and then bounce out on its original trajectory. This is creating a three-way intersection of valleys there. And it's actually going to create a three-way intersection of valleys up here too, once I pop that point down. And the key thing is that this new valley going here is only going one grid spacing, and it's running straight into a three-way intersection of mountain folds. There's also another three-way intersection of mountain folds in exactly the same orientation as the three-way intersection of valleys down below. Both of those are in the same orientation as the three-way intersections down below. They're just transposed one grid spacing over. And like we've seen with the compound wraps before, it's not going to want to fully flatten until our triangle is happy. So we need the third pleat for this new triangle twist. And then our compound wrap can lay down flat. Our pleat overlap on the other side can lay down flat. And we can squash our sixth open triangle twist. Okay, so from here, I'm going to grab the compound wrap and flip over. So now the compound wrap is at the top of the right-hand side of where I'm working. And I've got this nice bigger space to work on the next pleat overlap clockwise from the compound wrap. So this is where I want to put my next twist. The compound wrap has conveniently given me some extra space. And so I'm going to put my next twist in here. So right now I'm looking over at the crease pattern to see that this bottom plate is going to be one of my open type pleats, And this top plate is going to be one of my closed type plates. So when I open this up, I notice, okay, if this is an open type plate and this is a closed type plate, I'm going to need, so notice my valley for the plate below is down here. The center of my hybrid hexagon is going to be one spacing away from the open type plate on the closed type plate. And it's not going to be on the side where the valley is running through. So it's going to have to be right here. And I'm going to go a little further and say, okay, I need to pop out. Notice I have that point, like if we were making this an open hexagon twist, this is how I would have the plates arranged. I'm going to pop a little bit more out because with the rectangle hybrid hexagon, we have 4 directions that are open type plates and 2 directions that are closed type plates. So I've got my plate in this direction, my plate in this direction. I don't have any plates in this direction yet. And so the plate coming from the top in that direction is going to need to be one spacing shifted over because that is going to be an open type plate. I can go ahead and set that up. I can also set up the extension so the same direction but opposite side of the twist. And this is the one, like I pointed out in the beginning, that's going to be just one spacing away from the existing plate from down below. And so I'm being really careful here as I put in this mountain fold to really tuck the layers that are underneath up and in so I can get this folded without making my grid mushy. And then my center line, or my closed type plate, the mountain fold going through the center, is going to come out the other side, still going through the center. It's just that the valley fold is going to be up above instead of down below. And I need a final open type plate coming in one space away from the center of my twist. And that gives me these nice long edges with 2 sides like an open hexagon, which will give me my rectangle shape when I pop these little pillows so they can lay down flat on all 4 of those, and then these edges will flatten just like a normal open hexagon twist. You can see pretty clearly here actually that this rectangle hybrid hexagon twist is precisely an open hexagon twist with 2 corners on opposite sides tucked under. So from here, it might not look like either of these directions is kind of more open for putting in the next twist, but I'm going to say that this direction down here, even though we have this pair of plates that are 1 grid spacing apart, I'm going to say this is the easier direction. And I'm going to take a cue from what's going on up here. I can see this mountain fold coming out of the hybrid hexagon is laying alongside this mountain fold coming off the edge of the open triangle, which means it would be coming identical to that edge because that edge and that edge are rotationally the same around the center. And if I want to get a mountain to lay along there, then my valley needs to be 1 space further back. And my mountain one space further than that. And with that information, I can pop. So notice I opened the outermost plate. I'm popping that valley down, letting it extend one grid spacing further until it hits the valley of the plate from the hybrid hexagon. And that's going to split out, creating a triangle wrap. We're going to have these three-way intersections of valley folds and mountain folds that are going to snap around and in place. And now my space here looks much more inviting to work with. It's still dense spacing, but it's more inviting than it was before. One key thing to remember here is that this middle plate of these three that I have in place is the one that's acting like a closed plate. So this one's acting like an open plate, and therefore we need to let the paper lift up a little bit more. I'm lifting from behind to let this mountain fold that we already put in keep extending all the way until it hits the mountain in the next direction. And when you do that, the triangle wrap might temporarily come a little 3D, but that's okay, and we can let that float a little bit until we get the rest of our plates in place. So then I lift it up even more because, like we saw earlier, our next plate around the center is going to have its mountain fold just one space away from the parallel mountain fold. We'll get that in place. And now we have this mountain going through the center. It's going to come out through the center and keep on going. And then we have our final open type plate going around the center, and another reference creating an accordion on top of our triangle wrap. So we've got a plate here from our previous hexagon. We've got the triangle wrap with its mountain one space away from the other folded mountain, and then this third plate stacking right on top of the triangle wrap. And then we can start popping the pillows of our hybrid hexagon twist and getting that ready to flatten before really ironing it smooth with bone folder. Okay, so we saw that twice now, once exactly the same as the next few repeats that we'll be doing. And I want to show you how I think about this without drawing on the paper. So if I want the wrap, if I want these mountain folds to be one spacing from this corner, then the valley is going to need to be two spacings away. I can pop that down, letting the valley interrupt two spaces from this outer corner on that mountain fold, and wrap around, creating my triangle wrap. Then that mountain fold that's coming in is going to keep extending until it hits the next mountain coming from a triangle twist. This is the long edge of my rectangle hybrid hexagon. Then I've got these two open type plates, or sorry, we've these two open type plates in a row, creating an edge that's just like an open hexagon. So it's going to go in one, out one, and I'm going to have this new plate creating that very skinny pleat going around the center, or a skinny pair of pleats rather. And then I have my closed type pleat continuing out this side, making sure that I get this matching long edge as I'm setting up that new pleat, which will set me up nicely to fold the pleat, making the accordion on top of the triangle wrap, and finish the hybrid hexagon twist. Then I'm typically going to leave this on my table as I squash. I was picking it up earlier so you could see what I was doing in there. And squash that hybrid hexagon. So now a little bit faster, I'm going to pop my pleat, opening the outside of that skinny pair, setting up the triangle wrap, opening the pleat overlap down below, making sure that I'm popping this edge of the hybrid hexagon out, and setting myself up to fold that really skinny pleat and set up the mountain fold that goes straight through the center, continues out on the other side, and my final pleat completing the rectangle shape, and start to squash. And now, once again, pop down that valley fold. This is lifted up off the table so I can put in the triangle wrap, open the pleat overlap below, and put in the new pleat that's going one space away from the parallel pleat. This is going to cause a lot of overlaps since this is our 5th hybrid hexagon. And make sure I have that closed type pleat continuing through on the opposite side, and finish the 6th pleat, creating an accordion over the triangle wrap. One little trick that I sometimes do is I'll get the center flat by squashing the 2 open hexagon type edges and bring the other edges kind of in, and that really opens up these pockets so you can press them and then pull everything back out to squash. So there's a variety of methods for squashing these hybrid hexagon twists, and I'm pretty sure I haven't figured out all of even the best methods for squashing the hybrid hexagons. They're just so new. Now we have one more hybrid hexagon to work on, and I'm going to start in exactly the same way, popping down that valley fold so I can set up the triangle wrap. Now I need to untangle some pleats in here so I can open the compound wrap. This is the compound wrap this time, and get everything lifted up and in. Notice that I'm keeping this pleat from my first hybrid hexagon closed, the first of these rectangle pleats. I'm not letting this open up, keeping that valley firmly folded so that I can then wrap around. So notice I'm erasing this pleat from the first hybrid hexagon back and back until it wraps and creates our usual accordion pleat. And now I can continue adding pleats to my new hybrid hexagon. This is my closed type pleat, and then my final open type pleat that's creating the accordion on the top side over the triangle wrap. And then we can squash the new hybrid hexagon twist, our final hybrid hexagon twist of the day. And now we'll flip back to the B side, which in this situation is the triangle side, and we'll turn each of these triangle wraps into closed triangle twists, because that is going to serve our symmetry purposes if we want to treat the rectangle hybrid hexagon as a symmetric position in the tessellation. So in the ebook, the 2024 Advent of Tess ebook, you'll find both the symmetric case, where the hybrid hexagon and these triangles are treated as positions of rotational symmetry, and an asymmetric case, where we have the hybrid hexagons acting as asymmetric positions, and then you have this whole cluster repeated to create an interesting pattern. And you'll also find another version that can be treated symmetrically, where these rectangles are in a slightly different orientation, and we see a different relationship of the open triangles with the center. So that's what's going on with today's pattern. Again, the name of today's pattern is Greenhouse. So I don't remember if it's greenhouse or greenhouses, but either way. And yeah, happy folding. Make sure if you need help, ask for help on Discord. My email's also open, but you're going to get a faster response on Discord because there's so many other people who've been folding with me for a while who can also answer your question there. And make sure to post on Instagram and Facebook. Tag me when you post so I actually see it. And use hashtag Advent of Tess or Advent of Tess 24 to tell other people where they can find these tutorials too. So happy folding, and see you in tomorrow's tutorial.